Welcome to the fourth video in the El Estero Water Resource Center process series. This video outlines the two paths that the treated wastewater can take after biological treatment: disinfection and dechlorination prior to ocean discharge, or tertiary treatment and disinfection prior to distribution into the recycled water system. In the last video, we looked at the biological treatment within the aeration basins and secondary clarifiers. We pick up here at the end of the secondary clarifiers. After leaving the secondary clarifiers, water travels through a large land outfall pipe to the chlorine contact chamber, or CCC. This path is where a daily average of 4.8 million gallons of ocean discharged water is treated. Here, sodium hypochlorite or industrial bleach is used to kill pathogens and any remaining bacteria in the water. This industrial bleach introduces chlorine into the flow, and operators ensure the industrial bleach is constantly dosed to a level to build an adequate residual, or excess chlorine that hasn't already reacted with material in the water. Chlorine is a strong oxidizer, which means it reacts with all sorts of things in the water and makes them more stable. In order to properly disinfect the water and chlorine need plenty of time to mix and contact each other. The tank is sized to provide an adequate detention time for peak flows, and there are a series of baffles and walls positioned throughout the tank that redirect the water up and down vertically and in a serpentine pattern to promote thorough mixing. At the very end of the CCC, another chemical, sodium bisulfite, is dosed to inactivate the residual chlorine. This makes sure the residual chlorine isn't discharged to the ocean where it could negatively affect any marine life. The effluent end of the CCC incorporates a weir that the flow must go through that measures the volume of water on its way to the ocean. Downstream of the CCC, water reaches the brine mixing box. As its name suggests, this is where the concentrated brine from the desalination plant and other permitted discharges mixes with the disinfected secondary effluent. This mixing dilutes the brine, which allows it to more easily mix with the receiving ocean water by decreasing its density. El Estero staff sample the water both upstream and downstream of this mixing box, providing information on El Estero's effluent and the commingled stream. Up to 6 million gallons of mixed water is discharged in the ocean and tested regularly to ensure discharges are in compliance with all regulations. In between the secondary clarifiers and the CCC, a portion of water is pulled off to go through the tertiary system. This is the second path after the clarifiers. The tertiary system is what creates the recycled water that irrigates the community's parks, golf courses, and some facilities along the waterfront. Recycled water is even used to flush toilets at some facilities. The tertiary system is variably operated to produce enough water as the community demands. This varies seasonally and typically ranges from 0.5 to 2.5 million gallons per day, which is up to nearly half of the flow coming into the plant. El Estero's tertiary system was rehabilitated and upgraded in 2015 to use ultrafiltration membrane technology to produce high-quality non-potable water. Up to 4 pumps move water into the tertiary system. The flow goes through strainers to remove large debris that may damage the fragile downstream membranes. El Estero uses skid-mounted membrane modules to filter the flow. Each membrane module houses thousands of straw-like filters with tiny pores in them. The pores are so small that things like bacteria and viruses can't make it through, but large enough that water can. Over time, the filters plug up from the material they remove, so on a regular basis, the direction of water flow through the filters is reversed. This process, referred to as backwash, helps to agitate, remove, and flush the built-up material off the membranes. The backwash allows operators to maintain flow through the membranes to meet city demand. Additionally, during low-demand times, a combination of manual and automated chemical cleans are initiated to help remove more hardy buildups of scale or biological growth from the membranes that the backwashes can't address. The filters run on a sophisticated control strategy that opens and closes valves during both normal operation and cleanings. The process is almost entirely automated under normal conditions. Once water leaves the tertiary filters, it flows to the chlorine contact basin to be disinfected with sodium hypochlorite, in a similar process that occurs in the chlorine contact chamber described earlier. The water is then transferred to an on-site reservoir, providing operational flexibility for running the filters because it allows the operators to run the filters at a higher rate during the day when there is more effluent flow available to supply the filters, and store it until the water is distributed at night when supply to the filters is low and demand for recycled water is high. From the reservoir, water enters the distribution pump station, or DPS. The DPS houses can turbine pumps that pressurize the recycled water up to 120 psi and push it out into the distribution system throughout the city. The pumps are controlled to automatically adjust to maintain this pressure. These pumps help supply recycled water used throughout Santa Barbara. You can see purple pipes around the city at the schools, golf courses, parks, and other locations around town, indicating that these areas are irrigated using recycled water produced at El Estero. Our final video in this process series will overview the solids handling portion of the treatment plant and will be found on the City of Santa Barbara website or City TV's YouTube page.